Welcome, another Try&Fly. Today we are looking at an aircraft that I've already used a lot, and I think there's also a Try&Fly for the Carenado PC-12. It's not so much about the actual Carenado aircraft, but an extension that you can buy. And I got the Black Friday Cyber Week sales frenzy. I got that stuff then from the stores, because now it's a good opportunity that you get them slightly cheaper. Actually, in the case of the reality expansion pack from SimCoders, that's the thing we are looking at today. You can see it. That actually didn't come cheaper. Well, it did. $1 was tremendous saving. So SimCoders have already done quite a few of these reality expansion packs, and basically what they do is they take an aircraft, preferably their Carenado aircraft, because the Carenado aircraft from a visual point of view are really good usually. And then they add reality to it by simulating engine stress, the kind of wear and tear, and all those kind of things that are a bit more realistic. In the real world you would actually get that. You have to be careful with your engines, especially when you have such a high energy one like this one here. You can do a lot of things wrong. And it can actually be quite difficult at times. So, for example, I didn't get the engine started without the automatic start yet. Maybe I managed to actually get it started here on the Try&Fly. Who knows? It says try for a reason. I actually quite like the reality expansion packs. They also are available now for the standard laminate Cessna, extending it for the Beach Baron, I think. For the Beef Baron 58, I think. And there may be a third non-Carenado aircraft that you get this for. So I think they're worth the money. They're in and around $20-ish, and they just bring that little bit of more realism to the whole thing. Now, one of the things that SimCoders has introduced in recent months, year, is the economy system, by the way. So there is the possibility to turn on an economy system, and there is a local one, which means that you would kind of simulate also the cost of running an aircraft. You can do a local one. That means all your aircraft that have a reality expansion pack would write probably stuff into some file on your file system, and you would kind of manage the costs of fuel, of repairs, and stuff like that. Now, I'm not using that because I'm not that interested in using it. It's just not the way I fly with a simulator. So I find it great that you have it, but it wouldn't be sort of, for me this this isn't really very interesting. But there are many of you out there that use FS Economy, and as far as I understand, you can also connect this economy system to the FS Economy on the internet, and that means you have a direct connection. I'm not quite sure if it sends data then and helps you with keeping your FS Economy kind of profiles up to date. I would assume yes, because in FS Economy it's also about running a little airline or running some being a pilot and earning money and trying to make do, with all the costs versus your income, and getting money for the flights and having to repair things. So all of that is simulated in the economy system. But that is just, for me, this is actually only a side effect. What a reality expansion pack really does is it improves on the sounds, it improves on the flight dynamics. It improves on the engine parameters. I think they get more realistic also when it comes to power and also, as I say, wear and tear. So your aircraft actually ages, and now that I talk about it, what they also have simulated is, even if you do not run your simulator, if you let your aircraft just stand somewhere, and for example in the Cessna, and I have forgotten to do that, I wouldn't be surprised if I started up and my battery is flat. So you would actually, for example, the battery would go flat, or if you let it stand for too long, you might actually, if you just run your motor without some pre things, then you might actually damage your motor. The oil kind of gets old, you know, that kind of thing, as far as I understand what I'm reading here. So adding the reality expansion pack to an aircraft will also make it age, and it will make it older when you use it. When you use it a lot, it goes faster. If you don't use it that much, it goes a bit slower. But then again, if you don't use it at all, it's also not good for an aircraft to just stand around. Yeah, so one of the things that the REP usually brings with it is difficulties getting the engine started, and I had already a try before I started the video. Yeah, we shall see. Okay, apart from that, the aircraft isn't really much different. So let's open those doors. It's still the Carenado aircraft with all its visuals and so on, but as I say, the inner values have been improved with the REP. Okay. Now, when you have the REP, you actually need you need to activate your Carenado aircraft, and then you also need to activate the REP plugin. It will ask you for a serial number that you get when you buy it, and then you would have this menu here. The upper one is the knee board. That's basically your normal operations checklist before engine start and so on. The emergency checklists and some references. So for example, the maximum operating speed of the PC-12 is 240 knots. The never exceed speed is 236. So maximum operating doesn't mean that you would be flying at 240. The maximum diving speed, so if you go nose down, is 280 knots. I suppose if you're faster than that, you'll be losing bits and pieces. Yeah, well, probably not too good. The rotation is in and around 80 knots. On takeoff, the best angle of climb is with about 110 knots. The best rate of climb you get with about 120 knots. KIAS means knots indicated airspeed, by the way. The vertical climb airspeed. So if you're in, if you are at 0, you would climb with 160 knots. When you are above 15,000, you get 150 knots. So you can see that the indicated airspeed actually gets lower, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're flying slower. It's just the higher you fly, and by the way, this thing can fly at 30,000 feet. The higher you fly, the less the indicated airspeed shows, by the way. So the V-climb is basically the climb airspeed, and you should try and kind of have this as the optimum climb speed, which always is a give and take, you know. If you fly fast, or let's say if you fly level, then you can fly fast. If you start climbing, you need to well, you can give a bit more power, but that is limited. But what you can do is if you sacrifice speed for climb. So and these speeds are kind of the best speeds for climbing with this aircraft. Since we are going to fly not more than flight level 200, I'm probably going to stay in and around 150 to 160 knots indicated. The maneuvering speed 158, the VFE maximum 15 flaps is 163. The maximum gear extended is 236. So if that means if you are extending flaps 15, which is the first stage, at higher speeds than 163, you'll probably damage your flaps. I just realized the flaps is actually out. It's on 15. Forgot to bring it in. The maximum gear extent is at 236, so don't bring the gears out if you're higher than that. The maximum gear operating speed is 177. Now, because this is the gear extended, it actually means that it is already extended. So you should have it not out if you're above this speed. But the thing is, the operating speed, especially coming out, is 177 knots. So you should actually not be that fast when you're operating the gears. The clean stall speed is 86, so below 86, we're clean, meaning no flaps. You're going to get a stick shaker or something. And the stall landing configuration, which is full flaps, everything out, is 60 knots. So you can slow down quite a bit, but you shouldn't slow below 60 knots with all your flaps out fully and gears out and all. Okay, and then there's a checklist. Now, I personally prefer a different kind of checklist, and that is the X checklist. There is a C list you can download from the forum, and I usually use this this checklist, and it is here. It's the before engine start that I have selected. Yeah. So next thing you do is you're doing, well, by the way, you can also tow this aircraft. So, well, you wouldn't probably tow it with every door open, but what I can show you is if you push your yoke, by the way, you should actually release your parking brake, which is quite realistic. So if you want to move your aircraft, you push the yoke forward, and then it would go backward. And if you pull on your yoke towards yourself, then the aircraft will come forward. If you go left or right, you can see how the push cart is moving left or right. And if you combine this with, for example, pulling, you can actually move the aircraft. Okay. And and then you set the parking brake again when you're done. It will tell you to disable the brakes, and then you press tow again, and we're back in the aircraft without towing. By the way, we are in Munich here, short final design Munich, one of the greatest airports for X-Plane, and it happens to be my hometown airport. So the other thing is the walkaround. That you know from other aircraft such as the airfoil labs, they do that, but also every REP extended aircraft has actually the walkaround. And you know what? I'm very quickly activating the battery and bring in the flaps. Yeah. Okay, so. Yeah, the walkaround is basically you click here and then you get this kind of, it's a bit like a checklist, and it tells you to go through this, and at some of the points there are also some special checks. Luggage, cargo check, tie down straps check, cargo door check, cargo door closed and locked. Yeah, well, sure, we can do that. Next, the empennage static ports. I mean, you can't do much with them. You just kind of, you would normally walk around the aircraft and then check all these things. External power door is closed. If a larger capacity oxygen system is installed in the rear fuselage, oxygen rupture disk. Yeah, I'm not sure if that would be one of them. Unfortunately, the graphics is quite low quality here, and the thing is also I can't move because we are in this walk around mode. Then comes the still the empennage, rudder and trim tab, check visually. Yep, they look good. Vertical stabilizer, check visually, look good. Elevator assembly, look also good. Yeah, it's a bit difficult because I can't really move. So I would say, yeah, they look okay. Here's the other side, horizontal stabilizer, check. De-icing boots, yeah, they look okay. Static discharge, wicks, dorsal and ventral fairings, check. And general condition, yeah, they look okay. Then comes the right wing trailing edge flaps, and you can actually check them and just make sure that they are okay. It's a normal that they move a little bit, by the way. Then check the aileron, static discharge wicks. The static discharge wicks actually can't be seen here. Oh, there's one. It's these little things, these little fellas. They they kind of move. They kind of yeah. If you have static electricity building, also for example in a thunderstorm, they would kind of take the electricity and bring them away or something. Not sure how they do that, but they discharge basically building electric charges. General condition is check, and you can also check the aileron by bringing it up and down. Next. Nav strobe lights, check condition. Yep, the thing is, we can't actually check because we have no battery. I just realized. I wonder, should we have turned the electricity on? Well, we're going to do a lights check after that. Right wing leading edge, fuel tank vent clear of obstruction, fuel quantity and filler cap check and secure. It's these things here. We have 425 liters. Color is good. Water contamination is none. Normally you do that with a little device to check this. Then comes the right wing leading edge. That's along here. I think the views are a little bit off, at least to me, because you can't always see everything. Okay, but yeah, they're looking good. And you're not sure what you can do here. What can you do here? What's this? What's this? Yeah, you can do something here. Toggle pitot tube cover. If you still have your covers on, you should actually take it off because you don't want to fly with the pitot tubes having the covers on still. And that might be quite detrimental to your flying experience later on. The probe temperature is, yeah, not sure what it is, but it is okay. Next. Toggle the chocks. So here you can toggle the chocks. You have to make sure that you have the chocks off before you can start. Main landing gear is checked. Brake assembly check. Wheel chocks removed. Then comes the nose section. Again, here you can apply covers or take them away. Just make sure that the cowling is checked, secure, and everything looks good. All these flaps here or these contraptions here are closed. Then the blades, you would normally then check the blades and the leading, the front here of the blades. There's no damage. De-icing boots, check. The de-icing boots are these here. They are used in winter with some ice forming on the propeller. And by the way, ice does form on the propellers, even when they spin. They're like wings actually, so they have the same. They can get ice built, so you use these boots here to break the ice off. So then the wheel chocks, they are away. Nose gear and doors are checked. These are the doors here for the wheel. Yeah, that's fine. Tire status is green, so everything is fine. We haven't really used this. Is a pretty new aircraft, so there shouldn't really be much wear and tear yet. Oil quantity check, general condition check. Now, these we can't do here, but I show you then in a moment where we could check things like that. Cowling is secure. Windshield is clean. Main landing gear check, brake assembly check, wheel chocks removed. Tire status is green. De-icing boots again, the pitot probe, that's this here, it's fine. Again, you could put the covers on, so don't have them on for flight. We have the same amount in the other tank, 425 liters. Color is good, water contamination not visible. Then the nav strobe lights, again, I haven't got the battery on now, and you can't get out of this mode easily. We're checking the aileron again, it's fine. And we're also checking the flaps. And then we are in the cabin, main entry door closed and locked. Hand luggage is secured, passenger seat check, passenger seat belts are fastened. And master power switch on and guarded. That's this here. External power switch is off, yeah. Battery switch is off. Battery 2 switch is off. And now we go through the cockpit here. Flight control lock is removed. It is indeed. It's not on. And placed in storage point. I'm not sure if you can actually, if that is actually visible. I don't think you can see this here, because I can't remember having seen the flight control lock. Then parking brake handle set, push brake pedals. So you can see how that comes off. Okay. Generator 1 and generator 2 switch off. Now that is the funny thing, because I can't move, so I can't actually see it. So that's a bit of a weird one, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my other checklist for that. Cabin pressure and altitude, and then we do finish, and then finally I can actually move around in the cockpit again. So that was the walk around. What you also can do is you can get the maintenance report. So basically what this gives you here is we have a time of 7 minutes so far. I haven't really used it very much since I installed REP. These are the compressors, fuel nozzles. They all have been used for 7 minutes, and yeah, they're still fine. The economy system here is not enabled. You can do that if you want to do it. This is the electrical system. You could actually recharge your battery when you click here, or when you have the aircraft stand for longer, you should actually disconnect your battery poles. And that's what I forgot with the Cessna, so I'm pretty sure my battery will be flat and I will need to pay for getting it charged or getting a new one. So this is the avionics. All the GPS and so on is okay. We have classic X-plane avionic here, but they're actually quite good. It's actually quite okay, the equipment here in the Carenado. Pressurization system we haven't used actually yet, because we haven't really been that high up. We're going to have to turn it on though when we're now up in flight level 200. Tank pressure 1600 psi. Yeah, so that's fine. That's the oxygen. Then struts are okay, actuators okay, left tire, right tire, front tire are okay. And here you can actually enable the either FS economy system or the standalone economy system if you so wish. I'm not going to do that now. So that's this part. There's also a load and balance, or mass and balance menu, and it works pretty similar. You can put all your weights in here in kilograms, for example. So I weigh 75. It's the load stations, they call that. And so the pilots left and right. I'm sitting here on the left. I don't have anyone else on board. And the wardrobe, the rear baggage, so I could add some baggage. We're not going to have that. I can increase the fuel tanks. They're currently about half, and according to, and I'm not sure now, but according to X-plane, this would give us a flight time of 3 hours 53. I'm not sure if that's actually true. Okay, but it will be fine for our try and fly round, a flight around Munich, which isn't that far. Landing CG prediction, flight time 60 minutes. No, actually we're going to fly far less than that. It's going to be probably 30 minutes flying time. Cruise fuel at flow is 230 liters per hour. Yeah, could be. I would actually need to check in the documentation if they provide some insights into the fuel use. Oh well. So here's the summary. We are 2,540 kilograms. Heavy payload weight is 75. Fuel weight is 612 kilograms. Takeoff weight 3,227. That's what we're taking off with. Maximum takeoff weight would be 4,500. So we still have about a good 1,200 kilos that we could still throw onto the plane. Takeoff center of gravity arm 5.696 meters. Okay. We can change the units here, by the way, if you want kilograms or pounds. So I'm in Europe. We apply this, and that means that our load has been applied. So the maintenance report I've shown you, and you can fix things there too. And this here is the automatic engine start. Now I'm going to attempt again to get the engine started. I seem to be missing something, and it could also be that the checklist that I'm using is not complete. So I'm going to try and also look through here, because it could well be that I'm missing something or that I make something wrong. Also in this checklist there are some things that I couldn't find, but maybe I find it now when we do it together. Okay, EPS switch. SPL, by the way, means, good question, but it's here. What could SPL mean? Something left. Panel left. So it's the left side of the S panel, whatever that is. So we should put the EPS on armed. Non-ESS override switch, that's in the overhead panel. Non-essential. Let's put that out of the way. So that's the non-essential. Where was I? Non-essential override switch is here. That's to be in the auto position, which means down. Yeah, that's already the case. Standby bus switch on. The battery left switch on. Test lamp switch. So we have a switch that turns all the lamps on, which we test, and all de-icing switches, they are all off. Inertia separator is off. The all cooling and heating switches, they are all off. Seat switch all off. All external switches for the lights are off. Left and right fuel pumps are in the auto position. Ignition switch is also in the auto position. Yellow caution, red warning, cancel. They're still blinking. Yellow caution, yeah. Landing gear lights, 3 green. Yes, indeed, it is. Gears down. EFIS switch. Oops. Yeah, this is, you always have to be a bit careful. EFIS switch into the CMPST position, whatever that does. Cabin pressure switch auto. Yeah, it is in the auto position. The ECS switch in the manual position. ECS is here, so we put that up into the manual position. Cabin control, current altitude plus 500. So we are in about 1,500 feet, plus 500 means 2,000. I guess that's the way you do it. Not sure what that does there. Right side oxygen lever. Yeah, it took me an awful long time to find that one. because it was in clear sight, but somehow hidden. I couldn't find it. There it is. Trim and flap interrupt switch in the normal position. Yep, it's these two here. Manual override red lever off. Yep, that's down here. Power is in the ground position. Flaps are 0 degrees. Red fuel, ECS emergency, blah blah, and so on. And you know, guys, I was looking like mad for this stuff. I just couldn't find it. Again, in plain sight, but hidden. Here they are. These three need to be in. The battery switch 2 should be on now too. We check the amperes and volts. Yep. Well, 0 ampere isn't quite right because we're actually using at the moment. We're using electricity. So the nav light switch we turn on. Passenger wing and no smoking we turn on. Pusher, fire, audible warning. That's here. That's the stick shaker.
Fire.
Okay. The parking brake is already set. Fuel quantity is checked. We have about half a tank. DC and so on. Yeah, it's checked. And the fuel reset switch. EIS reset. That's here. The EIS is this thing here. And actually there is some weird thing with the mouse. I'm not sure where that comes from. Here's the fuel reset. Because you do reset the fuel use for this trip. Next comes the engine start. So we have requested engine start. I'm turning on the beacon. I have my switches, okay, but normally it's up here. So the beacon is on. I use the EIS test button. That one is here. And it will turn on all the lights. Unfortunately, it's as usual a bit difficult to check everything. But yeah, I guess that's fine. The yellow caution, red warning light, IPL. You see, the mouse gets caught a lot here in this aircraft. It's one of these where I have this a lot recently. And I have a feeling that comes because we have this strange, this stuff here somehow. By the way, there's also the settings menu. So here you can enable plane damage. So I should be careful now when I fly. Show tip, show side menu on mouse hover only. Oh yeah, this is, oh yeah, great. I forgot about that because I hate actually when things are showing up. Unfortunately, Carenado has never come to a great idea like this because the COA is always there. Doesn't really look very realistic. Save and restore the plane status between sessions. It will actually save what you had when you left. Hypoxia is activated, so I hope I'm not forgetting to turn on the oxygen. Roll axis drivers, ground steering. Yep, use US customary. Nope. Wind sound level is full. Use advanced steering. Yeah, I've got that on. See what that makes. Smooth brakes. Yep. Use Carenado panel to control the static elements. Yeah, no. Then the other thing is you can decide if you have a brand new aircraft, a privately owned new aircraft, a privately owned old aircraft, or a flying club aircraft. Flying club usually means it's quite battered. Check fuel price at airport. That's when you have the economy stuff on. You can show the checklist. These are all these things here. Okay. You can disable the package again if you don't want to use it for a flight. And you can also toggle the static elements from here. So we shouldn't do that though, because we've just removed them. Okay. Now, we are basically ready, at least according to this checklist. But just to check, I'm going to bring up this here and go through pre-flight inspection. Yeah, parking brake is set. Flight control lock is removed. Oxygen lever is on. PAX ox supply auto. PAX oxy supply is in the auto position. The PAX oxy supply. Yeah, whatever that switch is. I think though it's this here. It's the cabin pressure and it's in the auto position. Circuit breakers, yeah, they're checked. You can't turn them on or off anyway. The EPS is checked and armed. The EPS is over here and it's in the armed position, and EPS is on. I'm not sure what EPS means. Something, probably something like power something system, maybe. Landing gear handle is down. Trim, inter, switch normal, flap, inter, switch, yeah, MOR lever. What is MOR? Manual override, yeah, it's in the off position. PCL, that must be the power lever, is in the idle position. Actually, to be more precise, in the ground idle, but you know, it's, condition lever is in the cutoff, that's that white lever down here. Flap lever is 0 degrees. Yep. Fuel emergency shut off full in. Fuel emergency shut off. Yeah, it's these three things we have already looked, and the windows are closed. Now battery 1 and 2 switches on. Battery voltage is okay. Avionics, and you know what? No, we need actually 24, so I'm going to activate the external power because our batteries are already a little bit low. Because I'm talking too much, most likely. Avionics 1 on. 8 is received. Altimeters set. Clearance obtained. Avionics off. Okay, so yeah, what we can do now is we can very quickly program our flight plan, which we probably already well, we've got it kind of, but yeah, no, let's clean this up. Oops. Enter. So push, and now echo delta nope. Yeah, it's a bit delta mic. Alright, enter, accept. Then I'm going to use the departure procedure already. Enter, and it's going to be the anchor 9 Quebec. So anchor 9 Quebec. Enter, load. That's until anchor. And now we've got Munich here. Yeah, I remember that. That is not always very good. So, up. Akini is our next waypoint. If you wouldn't have an external power, you would probably do this with the running engines, because you want to make sure that your batteries don't wear down. So normally you wouldn't really wait that long. Aki, oh, nah. Akini, enter. Enter. Next is Ostis. So this is this default X-plane GPS. So there's nothing Carenado in here. Ostis. Enter. And then comes the bumped arrival, and that I will do in procedures. First go to the arrival, enter. Bumped 4 alpha, it is actually, yeah, 4 alpha 408 left, enter, load, procedure. And we also take the approach, which is the ILS 08 left. And we're coming in via mic. And I might actually shorten the route today. We're not going to fly the full route that I usually fly with jets. We're going to shortcut, because we don't want to test the GPS. Right, so we've got our stuff. So avionics off again. Beacon and nav lights on. They are already on. Avoid prolonged use of beacon and logo lights if installed, as this can cause a decrease in battery power. Yeah, indeed, but we have external power now, so it's okay. Fuel pumps, audio visual check. I'm not sure what I'm going to check, but it's in auto. That's strange. The checklist is a bit strange. Lamp checked, fire warning, IES checked, fuel contents checked. So, engine start. Prop area is clear. Starter switch, press for 2 seconds. Condition lever when NG reaches 12. When this thing reaches 12, I move the lever, and that's unfortunately very difficult to see. I move the lever into the ground idle position, which is roughly here, roughly in the middle. Then we check oil pressure and ITT, engine instruments, and when it's running, we turn on generator 1 and also put the inverter on, either battery or generator, and then comes avionics 1 and 2 on, and I guess that was one engine, right? Or this that I think that covered both engines. So theoretically it's very easy. Practically I had a real hard time. Let's see. So yeah, we're having the external power on, so we should be fine when it comes to the power. Alright, so you have to stay on the starter for 2 seconds. 1, 2. Then I'm watching this here, and as soon as this, oh, now it works now. Oh, good. Not sure what was wrong before, but the alarming thingy is really annoying. Yeah, but it will stop eventually and everything works. And today, haha, voila, it has worked. So condition lever is probably in ground idle, but it's very hard to see. So no, we are not. Now we are in ground idle. Okay. For some reason the checklist doesn't work here properly. Engine oil, everything power is okay. Generator 1 switch, generator 2 switch. We turn them both on. Avionics switch, we can turn them on now. Whoop. Inverter, generator, we put that on generator 1. Standby bus switch, we can turn off. ECS switch. It could have been the ECS maybe, because I think I had this not on manual. Maybe. Torque, yeah, well, torque torque greater than 3.5. That I mean, this checklist it was probably pre-REP, so these values don't really match. That's not what I'm getting here. I tested already. I couldn't get these values, so it probably REP has changed this. Oil pressure green. Yep. And yeah, well, it is green, but it can't detect it. Yellow caution, red warning lights are cancelled, and the warning panel checked. There's nothing on. That's great. And that is the B4 taxi. Transponder, well, we don't need the transponder on at the moment, so we have it on standby in Germany. So flaps, we're going to bring into the 15 degrees. That's the first position. I use a button for that. You're supposed to test the autopilot. There's a test button here. You press, then you activate the autopilot, and then you turn it off again. So we make sure that these are on. Then the de-icing switches, we are not requiring de-icing today. Inertial separator remains off. The cooling and heating switches, yeah, I'm actually not sure which I should turn on, but I would say heating the cabin probably makes sense. Fans, I don't know. Recirculating cool. No idea. Additional cooling, HRS switches, they are here. They're all in the slave or CCV. The alternate stabilizer trim adjust, that's this here. So we need to bring that into the proper position, like so. Warning panel is checked, and we are ready for taxi. So we request taxi for runway 08 left, and they now turn on the strobe light. Not sure why they're doing that, and the taxi light, and the condition lever. We're having ground idle. That's actually important because otherwise you will have difficulties with taxiing. And we release the parking brake. And then we quickly check that the turn indicators work. And I'm using the left and right brake. That has worked. And I'm quickly giving it reverse power. Not too much though, because otherwise you will do a little bunny hop here. And now we go to the holding point. Oh, where do I have to go actually? Is that the red line? Not the taxi line, I think it was. Yeah, I should have probably taxied on the red line here. So again, it's still the Carenado when it comes to all the optical bits and pieces, but many of the parameters rolling on the ground, the engines, some parameters of the flight model, all of that has been optimized and changed with the REP. And it's supposed to give you a more realistic behavior of this aircraft. As you can hear, my throat is a little bit rough at the moment. It's the getting a cold time again. We already had our first snow, didn't hold very long, but it was there, and we have minus 2-3 degrees already. So the winter is coming. What are you doing? Stay out of my way, boyo. Big tank here. That's the quickest way of checking out of this world. Ramming a fuel tank. So I'm going to put the altitude on flight level 200. So we also need to change the baro. It's 10:13. We have standard weather. And we should actually end up on 1,400 and something. Yeah, that's it. So that's correct. Yeah, it has changed that one as well. So, and if you have the parameters like ground idle and basically almost zero thrust, it's actually very easy to steer. I use the rudder pedals that I have. I think you can also use other means of steering. You can configure that, but rudder pedals or the Z axis of your joystick will do nicely for that. I just realized we have the wrong OBS mode here. Okay. Yeah, I just let it going. We do have some graphical artifacts here, but I would say that is, yeah, that's a weird one. There seems to be some interference of the outside textures with the inside textures. That's weird. So I think we can already, we can start from here. We don't need the whole runway, so I'm going to do a kind of a mid-runway takeoff. So let's assume we have been cleared to enter the runway. No, that's still a taxiway. We need to push forward a little bit. Now REP is counting also the time now, the time of the airframe and also the time of your engine. So the more you use the PC-12, the more wear and tear will be. I mean, the airframe is probably not going to see much immediate wear and tear, but the engine, yeah, with every hour that you use it, yeah, will become worse. The oil, all of that stuff is slowly deteriorating, and that means from time to time, if you take this REP thing seriously, you will have to also run maintenance kind of on a regular base. Okay, let's quickly stop here. Right, so cooling heating switches off, they are all off. The left and right fuel pumps in the auto position. Now we're going to turn on the landing lights. We're going to turn off the taxi lights. Passenger seats, yes. Ready for takeoff. We received the takeoff clearance. I'm going to turn on the transponder into alt mode. Warning panel is fine. And we're going to release the parking brake and we're going to do the alignment. Okay, let's turn on the parking brake. By the way, I've got my throttle axis, which I wanted to quickly show you. It is possible with this aircraft to use the has beta and reverse detents, and because I have these throttle levers here from a guy in Stuttgart who builds those, and there is a detent, and you need to actually, in order to get into the beta range, I need to actually pull a little lever, and then I can move it backwards. And it took me a long time to get this going, but I can now actually go into reverse mode with this axis. So it is possible to do that with X-Plane. Right, condition lever, flight idle. That is the little white lever, and it needs to be brought fully forward. And you wait a moment so that your RPMs go up. You can hear that. Then we release the parking brake and we're going to rotate. We'll bring the throttle forward. But always make sure that you're not getting into the red. That means you move your power forward, but you try and stay in the green with all of these values, like now. And at 80 knots, which is now, you carefully pull on the and gear up. So let's make sure that we have the correct, and I'm going to use the nav mode. I'm going to use the IS mode, and I'm going to turn the autopilot on. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. I think I want to. Oh, let's turn it on again. I'm going to use the. Oh no, it doesn't have vertical speed, right? Or does it? Because I want to get the speed up a little bit. So yeah, bring the nose down with the down button here. The altitude mode arms itself here, so you don't have to use an altitude select. We are now beyond that, so I'm bringing in the flaps. That should also increase the speed. You can now see that our vertical speed drops a bit. So after takeoff, yeah, we've done that. Landing light switch off. ECS switch in the auto position. It is. Flaps up. Power greater 150 knots. Torque 36.9. So I'm taking back the throttle lever to bring it closer to this 36 point something. Oh, engine and oil, they're fine. We're following our flight plan, that looks okay. So cabin altitude differential pressure 5.7 psi. Yeah, the cabin isn't climbing yet. Rate of climb adjust. Wouldn't that be automatic? I'm not sure what you have to do here, to be honest. So de-icing switch we don't need. Altimeter is 1013 anyway. Engine instrumentation warning panel. Check. Everything is okay. So we're climbing with about 1500. Yep, the frames have dropped a bit. You can see that. Let's see if my track IR is working. Not quite. Okay. Oh. Nope, that profile isn't quite right. I'm still working on a track IR. I've got the receiver working again, this infrared thingy. It was defect. and it had broken off too, so I've got that all fixed. And yeah, but I'm not really happy with the profile. Yeah, it's yeah, there's still some areas which I don't really like. Now the system sticks on 1700 RPM, no matter what this checklist says. We've passed 10,000. So I'm hoping now that the pressure is working. I'm not sure that that's correct, eh? Yeah, I think. And now we're climbing. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to level off at 15,000. Okay. There's no need to go up to flight level 200. So what we're going to do is we're going to climb to flight level 150, and then I'm going to cut through to LANDU, and then we're kind of flying a shortcut. Because as I say, I'm not testing the aircraft. We know anyway what X-plane will do in my special corner. This is more about the aircraft itself, how it handles now with the REP, and if we are encountering any problems. So I'm wondering if the altitude is captured automatically, because we're actually not in a vertical mode at the moment, right? No, we aren't. So I'm going to use IAS mode again. Yeah, and that's what they said. 150 to 160 is kind of the optimal climb speed. So we're turning, also the vertical speed is coming down, or is it? And nope, I think I need to activate the altitude mode. Okay, so it did not arm it, sort of. Okay, good to know. That's the thing, when you fly many aircraft, you tend to forget things like that. So we're going to speed up a little bit now, because we are basically now in cruise mode on our cruise altitude. And I am now going to, well, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to make it fly direct LANDU. Direct to LANDU activate. Okay, so engine oil 10 to 17 psi, that's fine. What they're saying is we should have a torque of about 37. We have quite a bit less than that, because I think we want to speed up a little bit. We're a little bit on the slow side, so I'm going to increase less than 37, so let's do 35 for the moment and see where we end up. The torque should be below 760, that is definitely the case. The NG turbine less than 104%, that is the case. And the oil is fine. RPM is kept automatically at 1700. This seems to be an automatic system. Yeah, it's trying now to get onto the course line. That's why it's wiggling left and right a bit. So we reached 200 knots. At this altitude, our maximum speed would be, yeah, somewhere here. But that's the thing. This aircraft should not be flown faster than 240 anyway. So I'm going to keep it in and around 200 to 220 or so. Okay. It's doing fine. So I'm going to dial in 5000 now. I'm going to give it a shallow descent for the ILS approach. And while we're at it, I don't really like the track. I still need to work on this. 109.5. The Corsair 80, well, we still need to, I can't change it now, so we need to do that shortly before or shortly after we switch from GPS to VOR lock again. By the way, the autopilot stuff is down here. And also here is the weather radar. We don't have weather, that's why we're not seeing anything. It also shows the standard X-plane microfiche writing maps. At least we have the GPS here. And the GPS they've actually made well readable. So de-icing switches not required, altimeter, QNH, TA, blah blah, okay. Fuel quantity is fine, engine instruments are fine. Here, by the way, are some tables. I'm not sure if they still apply after the REP has been, because the C list isn't made for the REP. So we're going to start with the descent. I'm going into the indicated airspeed mode, so it will now remember that speed, and now I'm carefully pulling back on the throttle. So the aircraft is slowing down, that's why it's bringing the nose down. And I wait a little bit to see where we end up with. We need a little bit more than that. Yeah, keep it in and around 1,000 feet per minute, plus minus. So descent speed 190. Okay. Then I bring it down a little bit, the speed, because it wants us to go at 190, below 200. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this speed, but we need to give some power because I don't want to descend that much. Yeah, it will take a moment now to kind of get itself again stabilized on a certain descent rate. Well, 500 feet per minute is a little bit not enough. I guess with 500 feet per minute we might actually end up a little bit higher, although, well, how far are we from MIQ? 9 miles. Yeah, I think 1,000 is good. Cabin altitude, differential pressure. Yeah, I think we're fine. I haven't really mastered that yet. Passenger, turn them on again. Oh. Well, we shouldn't really have external power when we're up in the air. That's a Carenado thing. Fuel quantity is fine. Altimeter, well, we have standard anyway. De-icing switches are off. Inertial separator we don't require. Engine instruments and warning panel is checked. Next is the approach. I mean, having an REP just makes flying the Carenado aircraft generally a bit more interesting, because Carenado creates visually really nice aircraft, usually, and especially in X-plane. And they do fly okay, but they're kind of vanilla. They're pretty similar. Because I don't think that Carenado now puts in a lot of effort in making it really, really realistic. So if you want a little bit more challenge and a bit more surprises that can come, I think the REP helps with that. Because it simulates also damage. So if you're overdoing it on the speed, you will damage your flaps or your gears or other things. If you overheat your engine, you will suffer from engine failure. Or at least when you're down, you will probably have to have some very expensive repairs. So I find that interesting, because it means I really have to be careful what I do with the aircraft so I don't break it. It makes you use this aircraft a bit more carefully. So we are, well, I think we need to speed up a little bit with our descent. because we need to be at 5,000 when we are at Magat, and we are not flying to Magat actually. Why are we not flying to Magat? Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh, I think we have a little problemo here. Okay, I hope that'll fix it. Hello. Oh, this doesn't look good. This does not look good. Where are you flying with me? Crap. I want to use heading mode. Yep, because this is a suboptimal position for a landing at the moment. Yeah, I didn't check. There was something wrong with the route. There's still some weird things with the standard GPS. That is one of them. Oh, hang on, there's an altitude arm, I think. Oh, yeah, there it is. Haha. I was wondering. Oh, no, this is also not good. We still need to go a good bit. So the approach speed is then between 100 and 120 knots. But I will try and not be there too early, because I usually am a little bit premature here on my approaches. $6,500 passed. Alright. I'm giving myself vectors now. So yeah, Magat, I think that's a little bit of a sharp bend, so I'm going to diffuse it a bit. Because otherwise we're not going to be aligned with the ILS. Oh, we are almost. We had the altitude alert, so I need to be careful now. So I'm bringing up the speed, sorry, the throttle, so that we're not dropping now. Let's see, are we staying or are we getting faster? I think we need to reduce a little bit. We are at 5,300. Oh yeah, we're not yet at 5,000, so I take back the power again. And oh yeah, I think I almost missed flying to Magat, but I think it'll be okay now. Well, there's 5,000. We switch into altitude hold mode, and I'm going to try and stay now, or yeah, slowly reduce now to 150. below 150 towards that white area. So I'll try and maybe approach the ILS with a V-lock. Then we need to put this on 80. And I'm going to arm the approach mode. We can already see the localizer moving, just about. We are below the glide slope, which is good. Speed-wise, we are around 150, and I'm going to stay at that speed at the moment. The glide slope is coming in. It's going to be captured any moment. And captured. And I am bringing down the flaps. Oh, I hope I haven't done that too early. What was the flap? Well, let's hope not. Landing light on. .9 miles. Probably again a little bit early. It's I still haven't got the feeling yet for when I should do what. Below 164, so I was fine with flaps 15. 130 is then the flaps 30 degrees. Yeah, that's fine. So we can pull that out. And flaps 40 also below 130. Yaw damper off. So we're 3.6 miles, I think. Not sure if there's a minimums kind of thing here. Doesn't look like we have something like that. Okay. Anyway, let's get prepared. Yeah, I could have flown much longer with the higher speed. I should start with this aircraft. It would have been sufficient to start the configuration here, or maybe a little bit, a couple of yards earlier. But yeah, that's the thing. I'm mixing so many aircraft like jets, where you have to be starting your configuration much earlier because it's much faster. This one is pretty slow. So I started far too early. Yeah, it's a nice aircraft, and I actually have a feeling that it is a bit more, it feels more mature with the REP. I don't know, I may be imagining this, but so I'm going to turn off the autopilot now, and I'm pretty much expecting a weir to the left, because that's what it usually does. So I'm actually counteracting this. Yeah, we have a nice setting, torque 44, 96.3 ng, 1700 RPM. We're nicely on the glide slope. I don't really need to do much. Now we are getting a little bit high, so I need to actually do something, and I have to keep preventing it from actually veering off left. So I'm having the yoke pointing right slightly, and there's a slight the elevator is a bit sensitive, but also not a surprise with X-Plane. This is the decision height minimum. I need to find out where you can set it. Oh, and it doesn't want to come down, huh? So, yeah, no. I had to take the power fully back. Slightly long landing, and now I'm going into the reverse. And you know what happens when you go into reverse? It will veer off to the right quite violently. For me, that is not correct. So this is not behavior I would expect. It's so violent that I cannot counteract it with the rudder. That's why I immediately turned off the reverse as soon as I realized that it was pulling right. When you don't do that, you will be off the runway. There's no way that you can counteract that with rudder at this stage. To me, this is a little bug. I'm not sure if it is Carenado or if it's REP doing that. But it is definitely an unhealthy tendency. So, transponder on standby, landing lights off, strobes off, and parking brake on. Putting everything into ground idle here, condition levers, and we're clear of the runway. Cabin pressure switch dump. So you open this here and you put it in a dump position if it lets you. Yeah, so that it would dump any kind of wrong pressure that it may have. So we can open the doors, release parking brake, and then taxi to the gate. We're not going to do that. I'm going to go through the power down here. So we have the power in the ground idle position, and we bring the levers into the cutoff position. Cooling switch off, standby bus switch off, oxygen lever off. Yeah, that's one of these core things. ECS switch off. All radios and systems off. Yeah, well, yeah, we can turn them off. Okay, and I'm going to turn off the avionics here. So inverter, generator into battery mode, and the generator switches off. Standby bus switch off, battery 2 off, battery 1 off, EPS switch off. EPS is here, and it is actually already, yeah, now it's in the off position. Okay, and that's it. So that's the REP enhanced PC-12. I thought it was flying well. The only caveat is really the extreme tendency to break out to the right, not the left, but the right. Something that you cannot counteract. The first time that happened to me on my first attempt, I was off the runway before I knew what was happening with me. It went very quick, and I had full left rudder. Neither the rudder nor the steering did counteract it. It was so strong. To me, that's not right. That can't be right. Yeah, I mean, you must be able to control an aircraft on the runway doing reverse. So I have a feeling that there's maybe some settings a bit over exaggerated or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, apart from that, one thing that I know now, and I'm taking care that it doesn't happen to me. I think this is a nice combination, a really good combination. The REP, the Reality Expansion Pack from SimCoders, and the PC-12. I really like it. I like the PC-12 anyway. The PC-12 is one of these aircraft that I kind of liked and loved from the beginning. And I like actually flying in it. And Carenado made a visually really appealing aircraft, and now with the REP, it's also from a simulation point of view, I think it has become more realistic. I think I'm not a real world pilot, so I can only guess, but it feels good. It feels right to me. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use it for more flights in the future. Okay, that's it. Yeah, 1 hour and a half, the usual try-and-fly time. I'm going to get all these timings again into the description. I think that is quite useful. So if you're not interested in certain aspects of the flight, you can actually skip things. I didn't know that you can turn that one. You can skip certain parts of the video. So I usually go through the video anyway, and then I write down the times, which is quite a bit of work and takes quite long. So it doesn't make it easier on me, but I think it makes it more easy and more practical for you to watch videos like that. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and until next time.